Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Am I the Asshole call-in show. We're very excited to share our guests with you. These are now Judge Judy's, as we're going, with members of our Patreon community. I gotta say, this has been the most rewarding thing we've done. I really love it. I've found this podcast has brought like a lot of empathy and intelligence, and wisdom, let's face it, that I am a bit of a Karen. But anyway, it's really been awesome to talk to our people, and we'd love it if you'd support us on Patreon. We're now doing a rolling call-in show, which basically means we're never not doing a call-in. You could just do a call-in. We're constantly scheduling people. It never stops. We'd love to see you. Patreon.com/AITA pod. And anyway, you guys get it. I do enough plugs. Rate, review, and subscribe. Enjoy the show. We welcome Eden to the show. Eden, thank you so much for coming on. I understand you're in Seattle.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, we love to have you. Now, is it overcast in Seattle or is it just a myth?
It's not currently overcast, no. It's a little smoky because of the wildfires, but...
Oh, no, I didn't know. The fires go that far, huh?
Yeah, I'm glad that those people found out what gender their child was.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they go out far.
You mentioned that, Sarah is always very modest about this and says, we're not parents, but we do opine on parental issues. But you reached out to us and said that you were a parent. So we're honored to have a parent listening to the show.
That's not just Danny's dad.
So what do you make of our opinions? Are we on point or what?
I think everybody's opinion is valid on parenting things, regardless of if they have children because they've been children. But I usually tend to agree with Danny, interestingly enough.
Shocking. Sarah, I have this recorded, Sarah. I'm playing this back every day.
It magically erased. It's lost forever.
Yeah, like in every situation where Danny is talking about how it's really the parent's responsibility to always be the parent, regardless as if their child is an adult or not, I really agree with. But with Sarah saying, not every person wants a kid at their wedding, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, did you feel, a big shift in your perspective when you had your child or children?
Oh, 100%. I was telling you guys earlier that I've been a preschool teacher for 10 years, but even the past few years that I've had my child, I've noticed how different my patience is and how much that's affected my teaching. And affected my worldview. I 100% see a difference in myself, that would be unfortunate if I didn't, I think.
So you feel that you're more patient now?
Yeah.
That's kind of impressive. We don't really think of having patience as like an acquired skill. So that kind of blows my mind.
Well, when you think about how you are hanging out with kids that aren't yours, or aren't in your family or you're not close to, and you're just like, why are you like a little shit? Like, I can't.
I knew you preschool teachers thought that. I knew it.
Yeah, but now that I have a kid, I'm just like, you literally just came out of me. I can't really expect much of you. I'm the person that's supposed to be teaching you how to be a good person, and you're just running amok without that information yet. So I have a lot more patience now.
Oh, I love that insight.
Now, Sarah has expressed this kind of concept, and I'm curious, especially because you're a preschool teacher. She says she has a fear. Sarah, what is your fear? Tell your fear about having a kid.
That I'm gonna have like a defiant sociopath.
What do you make of that, Eden?
I was just thinking about this earlier today. Those like Dr. Phil clips on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, I'm kind of addicted to those.
Are you guys talking about How About Dad Girl? Catch Me Outside? Is that
like
basically what we're talking about?
Any kid that's on Dr. Phil, I think, pretty much qualifies.
Well, she's the queen, okay?
She is the queen, but her mom sucks. So that's like a situation where I'm like, okay, the apple didn't fall too far from the tree over there.
Yeah, but there was this crazy one, like the worst one. I was literally in tears a few hours ago because this one child was so messed up. And like, this is really touchy and serious, but their 15-year-old is a pedophile. And I'm just like, the parents are so sweet. And you can just tell that they raised this kid so well and they care about him so much. And they're very proactive about the situation. And I'm just like, what if I do everything right?
Right.
That's what my fear is. Like, I know it's not likely statistically, I guess, and it's also not logical, but seeing those types of things, and I suppose I just watched too much Law and Order, but it's just such a dilemma.
And whenever you watch murder mystery shows, they always kind of blame the mom. I noticed.
Always. It's never really the dad. It's like, but the single mom, never mind the dad who just like sold his kid for a beer bottle that sort of happened to Charles Manson.
The dad's always in a chair in the background. They're like, oh, he's also here.
The chair.
I think it is a little paranoid. I think the media, like you said, Sarah, it's statistically we're talking about. You might as well be worried that you're going to have a kid who wins the lottery. Like, it's not.
I would get worried. They'd be more likely to get murdered.
Oh, my God. Everything ends in murder with you. Enough.
You're right.
Take a break from the true crime. All right. Well, we're going to do a little situation here. AITA for saying, I don't know, man, lesbians by you. And this is beyond classic, people. Username is, I don't know, man, lesbians.
I really just went in on the branding there.
My big sister is my best friend in the entire world. She's literally the coolest, funniest, most fun person I've ever known, and she's always been my hero. She's also a lesbian. She's currently engaged to a really, really cool lady who I love almost as much as my sister. The wedding is going to be happening in December. Lockdown rules dependent, of course. They've sent out all the invites and stuff. One of my sister's bridesmaids is her current fiance's ex. They're all friends and quite close, so it's not weird for them at all. My sister often makes jokes about how all lesbians know each other and how lesbian relationships tend to work. For example, my girlfriend and I were together a year before we moved in together, and my sister joked that, quote, that's like a decade in lesbian years. My girlfriend asked me about the ex being in the wedding party and why they chose to do so, because it seemed like it would be awkward. I said it isn't for them, and she asked why. I just shrugged and said, I don't know, man. Lesbians. My girlfriend got pretty mad at me and said that was homophobic and playing into stereotypes, and I shouldn't have said it. My sister laughed when I told her, but IDK, the things my GF said are sticking with me and making me feel pretty bad. What do you lot think?
That is true. Like, lesbians do act like that. I am a lesbian. I know every lesbian through at least like one or two other lesbians in my like Seattle area community. And if his sister is comfortable making jokes with them like that, I really don't see why she would feel like she needs to say that.
The one caveat I would say was maybe just because the sister wasn't around. So maybe the girlfriend didn't know that this was like an okay in-joke for him to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I guess, I see your point here, and I grant you're the authority because you're a lesbian, but wouldn't you feel a little uncomfortable hanging out with like a rando who then's just like, well, yeah, dude, that's just how lesbians are, even if it was true?
It really depends on the situation. I don't think being emotionally evolved enough to be friends with your ex is a negative thing.
I love that, like, implicit shade.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think there's no shade there. So for him to say, I don't know, lesbians to that's a plus for us, you know? I do think a lot of times when people are allies to the LGBTQ community, they tend to like overdo it or think it's their job to like step over the person who may be like the authority in the situation. Like the brother is the authority on what his sister finds appropriate, right?
Right.
And so even if she's not there, he's really close friends with her. Why would he make a joke that is offensive to her? He loves her. But because his girlfriend is an ally and she really wants to show that and she really wants to let that be known, and she doesn't really know how to do that in a way that's like stepping back, assessing the situation first. She just went a little too hard, but I don't necessarily think she's an asshole for that. Just a little silly.
I guess, and I'm zooming out here, I'm pulling away from this situation. I think you explained that perfectly, because ultimately this is a positive attribute, and I think having good ex relations is a great attribute. But I guess what I'm kind of talking about is a more general thing of like speaking in generalities about groups you're not a part of. And now this situation also is like, this is his girlfriend, so she knows the context, but I feel like this is dangerous ground here. And I think it's ill advised. And like Sarah does jump on me a fair amount for being like, women be like this and women be like that. And I slip into that, and it's stupid. And so I guess, that's the trope, right? It's like, oh, well, my black friend said I could say that. And I guess that's sort of the other end of this spectrum, is where you see people kind of leveraging this relationship, which consists of love, but using it in a way to let them get away with shit that ultimately is offensive. I guess that's kind of what I'm not seeing it here. I'm just saying that's a thing.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I can see where it could be a slippery slope. I think in this situation, it's kind of like a one-off fine thing, but I can definitely see where you're coming from with that, though. It's probably not the best idea to talk about groups and generalize groups that you're not a part of. But I don't know. I think he is a part of his own family, and his sister is a part of that family, and he's really close with those lesbians that he's referring to. So, oh well.
Right. And the girlfriend's close to him. So like, I really don't think there's a lot of wiggle room in this situation. I don't think this was offensive, but like, I would definitely be like, should this guy go around and make jokes about lesbians to people he doesn't know or people who don't know his situation? And that's where I would get uncomfortable. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, true.
Jen N writes, oh, tough one. I'm going to say NTA because your sister actively accepts that humor. However, you need to be aware of your audience. Brilliantly put. Sue B says, NTA, I don't think you meant to feed into stereotypes and your girlfriend should calm down. That's kind of interesting because... it is a little harsh, but Eden, you were like, yeah, no, this is totally true. It really is just that. This is just totally a thing with every lesbian you've ever met, huh?
I'm not going to speak for every lesbian in the world, but I do know a lot of lesbians who are very close friends with either people they've been romantically attracted to or pursued, or exes. I know people who are close with their ex-wives, so... Right. That's just my personal experience, though.
Now, I don't mean to push you into a corner here. I know this is a toughie, but, as a straight, I'm fascinated. Why can is this a lesbian superpower? How does this happen?
I don't know. Honestly, I kind of think that women put themselves, or are more willing to put themselves in emotionally challenging situations a lot of the time, and I'm only speaking from my experience with the very little men that I have in my life. Right. I've just noticed that a lot of times women are more willing to put themselves through the ringer emotionally, and I think once you push past that, you can be friends with exes and people that you didn't maybe get along with before or stuff like that. So
it's interesting.
Now, are you personally friends with any exes?
No. I'm friends with many people that I've like confessed my love for, and they 100% rejected me, and then we go roller skating and it's fine.
You go roller skating? That's fun.
Love that.
Lindsay M says, I'm a lesbian and NTA. If you were just some random guy who made this joke, I might feel a little uneasy. But this is a sitch where you clearly understand what's going on and you're filled with love, not hate. I think that about lines up with what we're saying. It's like there's a time and a place, and clearly this is a very innocent time and place. Top Reddit comment, regular tell 108 writes, NTA and you're not wrong. The number of exes included in queer wedding parties is rather epic. Winky face. Oh my God. Is that his ex? What's going on? Yeah, I think I'm happy that everyone kind of reacted to this in a way where it's like you should, be careful with these jokes. I think we all agree. AITA for saying, I don't know, man, lesbians.
Is the girlfriend the asshole? This is my one question. I could go either way. It's like, yeah, she overstepped. I mean, she was like doing it out of good intentions.
She got pretty mad and said that it was homophobic and playing into stereotypes, and I shouldn't have said it. I don't know if that crosses into asshole territory. I mean, if she's sort of unwilling to back down or something like that after an explanation.
Right.
But that seems like an okay reaction. I mean, she's reacting that way because she's like, hey, that comes off as very like, ugly and stereotypical. And, understandably, like there's a reason to like kind of come at your partner and be like, hey, I don't want you saying stuff like that. I don't care who told you it was okay to talk like that. So I kind of see the reaction detached from the context, which he might not have really fully absorbed or thought about. I don't really know if I find it to be asshole-ish.
I could go either way. I'm kind of wondering like how much of it is her job in the situation, because we've already established that she's not close with the sister but is close to her boyfriend. Why is it her job to get angry about it? I don't know, because she doesn't really know who she's defending.
True.
And so I could see it either way. Like I don't necessarily think she's an asshole for trying to defend all of lesbians. But I don't think that it's necessarily her job to do that in this situation at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel on the one hand, even if you don't know literally who you're defending in terms of like, she should have more openness because it's like this guy's sister is a lesbian. So like he knows what the score is. But on the other hand, I think it's important for people to call their friends out when they say, racist shit or homophobic shit, even if, they are not necessarily the victim of that, or they may not be necessarily close to someone in one of those groups or whatever it may be. I think it's good to check your friends on that and be like, hey, that's an ugly thing to say. I'm really kind of in no assholes here territory. If she really made a whole stink about it and then just like wouldn't back down and wasn't open to like, hey, like my sister's cool with it after a cool down period, then maybe I could come for her. But I think it's a fair initial reaction. It's a little detached because it's like she knows that he has a lesbian sister. But
personally, I can't super, like you said, Danny, I think I could come for her if like she, even despite the sister being cool with it, she like decided that no, she was the authority on what was and wasn't offensive to this community that she's not in. But that doesn't seem to have happened. So, I mean, I could kind of go no assholes here.
Eden, do we have you? No assholes here?
I don't like the indecisiveness.
You can disagree with us.
I don't want to extend this too much, but I'm also wondering why she didn't just ask the sister.
Yeah, I mean, she could have also asked him instead of just like accusing him.
You're saying that the girlfriend should have been like, oh, hey, sis, is this offensive? And like reached out to the sister?
I know. I mean, like, why didn't she just ask about their situation, their relationship with the sister instead of asking her brother?
Oh, okay, because my girlfriend asked me about the ex being in the wedding party, so she's kind of snooping.
Yeah.
Why does she just go right to the sister? Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm extending this, but yeah, I just think if it was really, I don't really think that's really her business in the first place. I like NTA personally, just because I do think she's nosy. It's not really her business to know why they're like that. And then she's going to ask, a straight man about it instead of the person that she's defending. So yeah, I'm going NTA.
I'm ready to shift. I think you've made a really great point there. She's snooping about, then she's making
prying.
Assumptions about a group. She's the one doing it. I'm in. I'm in. NTA. Sarah, where
All
are
right.
you?
We came full circle. I could see it either way. I don't feel that strongly either way, so I'll come with you guys. I'll go NTA on this one.
AITA for saying, I don't know, man. Lesbians is a big NTA, and the girlfriend is the asshole. Well, Eden, thank you so much for joining us. We love to have you, and I hope you had a good time. Hi, everybody. We're joined today by a call-in. Oh, welcome to the show. We love to have you.
Hi, it's nice to be on here.
You're like an all-star member because we did a situation about the guy who met his SO's mother, who she had hid her family from him. And he had told the mother that he wouldn't date her. That was a situation, if you guys remember it. And you actually emailed me, and I thought you had a great insight on this situation.
It was sort of kind of building off of some points that you guys had made in the episode, but I really thought it was important, especially as a lot of the comments were kind of starting to talk about, oh, you know, you were the asshole, but you were justified. Which I think is also kind of one of the things that we tend to sort of use to rationalize stuff we do. But I thought in this particular situation, especially the fact that this boyfriend had just kind of taken the opportunity to be snarky and kind of get his revenge on this woman for being so awful instead of actually doing something productive, which would have been like, you know, saying, oh, you know, but my girlfriend's actually a really good cook, or sort of standing up for her. He kind of chose to just be snarky, which only made the situation worse, both for him and for his girlfriend, because, you know, he was just sort of giving this woman more ammunition to kind of go after this girl with, you know, you've brought this horrible boy over and he's so disrespectful and that kind of stuff. One of those things that I guess as we're kind of trying to decide whether people are assholes or not, really looking at how their actions impact everyone, not just the person they consider themselves to be against in the situation.
I like that. I think that's a good point to consider.
Yeah, I really like what you wrote in the email. You said, I just felt like it was important to point out that lashing out at abusive people usually just results in more harm to the person they're abusing. It's a big ask because I don't know if boyfriend fully could understand or internalize like that's what's happening here. But I think ultimately you're right. And it's a fantastic point.
Thanks.
Now, I had asked if you wanted to do anything specific, and you mentioned having ADHD. I did trawl / machete through the depths of AITA, and I found an AITA about ADHD. A lot of acronyms.
Cool.
Brace yourself, people. AITA for being frustrated with someone that has ADHD.
Ooh.
This happened 1.5 years ago. By the way, I don't love when situations are like 39 years ago.
I'm like, why are
give me
you
a
still
break.
bothered by this?
We're a guilty lot, us humans. I just remember the incident and wanted some insight. I work with someone that has ADHD, or that is what she told me. At first, I thought she was nice, friendly, and overall decent, who I thought I could get along with. After her first couple of weeks starting with the company, she became very irritating. She would randomly go around talking to everyone. I don't mind since that isn't my business and I'm not her manager. However, she started conversing with me, which is very annoying because I'm trying to get my work done. I've never told her this directly because I thought a grown-ass, all caps, woman can figure out how annoying it is to talk to someone constantly when they are trying to work. She then told me she has ADHD and how she can't focus. I was flabbergasted. I looked it up and I couldn't believe what I found. From what I've gathered, this is pretty much an excuse for someone to be lazy. How can you not focus on something unless you are lazy? I told her I'm sorry she can't focus and asked if she was getting any treatment. She told me she didn't want to take any medication. I was curious as to why she wouldn't, but I decided to end the convo because I didn't want to get in her business. AITA.
Ooh, that is an interesting one. I guess one really interesting insight I can offer into this is that this person's attitude seems very, very disparaging to people with ADHD, but it also kind of seems like this woman maybe has not really had any opportunity to get any help for this, because medication tends to only be one part of it, and like a really, really small part of treatment for ADHD. Once you know you have it, it's kind of a huge part of treating it is kind of figuring out coping strategies for the problems. So like for this woman, I guess her big problem is that she's having trouble, I guess, focusing on her work. But usually, you know, you'd kind of be able to figure out ways to manage that. Like I totally get the tendency to want to talk to people all the time and kind of have stimulation, but you know, there are other things you can do. You can I listen to this podcast usually at work because it's nice to hear voices, and
Yay.
that kind of, you know, helps me divide my focus in that weird way that just seems to make sense when I'm trying to get things done.
I'm trying to tell doctors to prescribe the podcast, but they keep telling me that's illegal.
Yeah. I kind of want to say ESH for this one because this person is definitely not taking her struggle very seriously. But the woman also maybe is a little bit, I mean, I don't even know, actually. I don't even think I would say ESH. I kind of want to just say YTA.
You know, obviously, I think this guy's a dickbag, and for him to say, you know, that she's lazy is completely doesn't follow, and that's ridiculous. But I guess I am kind of chewing on the idea here. We kind of have this paradigm of like neurotypical versus other, right? We try not to place a label. And, you know, one thing that my girlfriend has actually said is like mental illness is progressive. Now, is ADHD mental illness? Probably not really how we generally would think of that. But do you think that someone who has ADHD, you know, and they're not treating it, untreated, do you think there's anything to be said about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder sort of, because part of the reason I sort of backed off on the ESH thing was that I remember that sometimes diagnosis is not quite so easy for everybody. But she seems to sort of at least know she has, and whether that's just because she has been able to sort of put that together by, you know, reading about it, or whether she's got sort of an official diagnosis. I guess once you know you have it, the main thing kind of becomes, okay, now you know you have this, and knowing you have it is more or less just a way to be able to, I guess, figure out ways to deal with it. Because, you know, sort of just knowing you have it is one thing, but if that's like all that happens, then I guess, like, you know, the purpose of knowing you have it is kind of lost.
Right. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of fixated on why is his approach kind of so fixated on the ADHD? That's not his problem. You know, his problem is like, hey, you know, I'm actually a super focused worker, and I actually get very easily distracted. If you could just, you know, please, you know, email me before you come to my desk or whatever. Instead, he kind of goes in on her business. That's actually what he's doing, even though he claims that that's not what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think he also seems to leave out quite a bit of information about why he has this much animosity towards her. Like, is she, in addition to always talking, is she just not getting any work done ever, or getting work done super late? Or, like, it seems like his reaction is kind of strong for just someone who likes to chatter a lot, which I get can totally be annoying, but...
Yeah, I mean, from what he's even describing, he's just saying she randomly goes around talking to everyone, which is kind of like a normal thing to do at work.
Yeah.
He's mad at her for being popular.
I can't help it that I'm popular.
Yeah, I mean, I'm maybe biased because my workplace is like a very small amount of people all in one room, and we're all pretty friendly with each other. So we'll sort of just have, like, you know, room-wide conversations, which, like, I definitely sometimes will be the person who starts those. But, I mean, if there's anyone who ever wanted to disengage, you know, in a workplace environment, I feel like usually if someone starts chattering to you, you can always be like, you know, I'm a little bit busy right now, and shut them down. Or at least, you know, even at a moment where she's not sort of in the middle of, you know, excitedly telling him something, he can maybe sit her down and be like, hey, this is really distracting. I'm actually the kind of person who really needs, you know, to not be interrupted. Because, I mean, that's the other thing. Someone who with ADHD, I mean, it's different for everyone, but there could easily be someone with ADHD who just can't have interruptions because then they're completely off the track of what they were working on.
Right.
It seems like there's just not communication between these two people, or at least, like, not a willingness to understand on his part, at least.
Well, I
Not
think you
at
hit the nail
all.
on the head, because he's actually saying that I have never told her this directly. He's actually the one who's failing to communicate with her. He's the one who has this issue, and instead he's writing this post and kind of psychoanalyzing her and, you know, creating connections that don't exist between ADHD and laziness, instead of just saying, hey, lady, you know, I'm busy.
It's kind of wild because he's like, I've never told her this directly because I expect her to read my mind.
Exactly. And I think we have a phrase for this, Sarah. I'll let you drop the phrase for me.
Internalized unassertiveness.
Boom. It's
Phew.
a Swiss Army knife, folks.
Yeah. Also, my favorite part is how he's like, I looked it up and I found out that it's just an excuse people use to be lazy. Like, where did you look this up? Breitbart?
Yeah. Horriblewebsites.com.
Yeah.
Let me just put this in. For a second.
.org.
For a second, I thought he was saying I was flabbergasted. I looked it up, and flabbergasted means shocked.
Yeah. It's like he'd never heard of ADHD before. I'm confused.
Crazy. Now, the top Reddit comment, Neutraligone, writes, NTA for being frustrated, YTA for this, and then puts in the quote where he says it's an excuse for someone to be lazy. So nobody likes this quote. I mean, it's insane. Final underscore commission 4160 writes, you're not the asshole for being frustrated at being interrupted. You are the asshole for deciding that she's just lazy. Trust me, as someone with ADHD, the lack of focus is real. Not always. Sometimes for some things it swings the other way into hyper focus. Is there hyper focus, Onella? Is it? Really?
Oh, yeah. It's like when you're just super zoned into one thing. So, like, you know, you'll start, you know, researching whales or playing Sims and, like, building a house. And 6 hours later, you haven't gotten up to pee or eat or anything because you've just been hyper-focused on what you're working on. It tends to happen with things you're more interested in.
I love to build houses in The Sims. I used to spend a lot of my youth doing that. And then I would be... And I was mad at women, just like this guy. So I kind of get it. Punch Beard, only dissenting comment I could find, writes, ESH. I'm only saying this because if I had $1 for everyone I know who claims they have ADHD but has never once been to a mental health pro, I'd have at least $25. And the only reason I'm saying everyone sucks here is that I have a sneaking suspicion your coworker is one of these people. Because if I also had $1 for every person I've met who was actually diagnosed with ADHD, I would have $1.
I'm going to go ahead and say that $25 figure is an exaggeration.
I mean, I personally know a lot more people who take Adderall.
Yeah,
than
like
who have
recreationally, than are lying about having ADHD or actually have it.
Yeah, I mean, it is widely thought to be over diagnosed, et cetera, et cetera. You know, these psychiatrists, they love to dole out addies to kids. It's like they're kids. That's why they can't focus.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's my problem from him for the get-go. It's like, this has nothing to do with ADHD. This all stems from an inability from you to just say, look, I'm busy. Please don't interrupt me. I'm very anal. And I don't like to be, I can't be bothered during the day, but I enjoy your company, but just periodically at my own discretion.
You mentioned that he hasn't said anything to her, which I think I might have missed in the beginning. So I'm kind of not even really seeing a way to call her the asshole here, because she clearly doesn't seem to realize that he's taking this so poorly. And it doesn't say anything about her, you know, being lazy in terms of work. I'm sure he would have mentioned that if that were the case. It kind of just seems like he found out this thing about her and then just decided to use that as a reason to rag on her, kind of.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. This guy has no self-awareness, and he's decided to build a case on ADHD instead of just asserting himself. So I think we all agree, AITA for being frustrated with someone that has ADHD. Again, it's not the title, but the holistic picture here is a big fat YTA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. We hadn't talked about this, but our previous caller was actually a lesbian as well. And we did a situation where a brother to a lesbian was asked by his girlfriend why one of this guy's sisters, she was having a wedding, and why one of her exes was in the wedding party. Are you with me so far?
Yeah, I think I saw this situation too in the group.
And so the brother then quips, I mean, I'm rounding up here, calling it a quip. I don't know, man, lesbians. And the girlfriend found that very offensive. And it was interesting. We had a great discussion about, generalizations of this and stereotypes of this. And I wanted to ask you because, she said that this is very common among lesbians. And I was curious, where do you stand on this? The whole lesbians are friends with their exes thing. It is a thing.
I think, yeah, it definitely tends to be, especially, I mean, I guess it depends on where you are and what the relationship was like and how it ended. But I feel like, yeah, that tends to be the case, that people sort of stay friends because, they're part of like your community in whatever space you're in. So you tend to still be friendly with each other, unless the relationship ended really poorly. But yeah, I'm definitely friends with like a lot of my exes.
And you're Canadian, so we can confirm at least some level of international perspective here. Maybe I'm reaching. It's interesting. I don't think she brought that up. So you sort of view this from I believe what they said is that it was a component of women being more willing to kind of bear the emotional burden of that and still being like, look, even though this is going to cause complicated feelings, I want this person in my life. They matter to me, etc. But you seem to view it more as we're part of a community. We're part of a group. Is that sort of how you view it?
I guess so. I guess what the other person said also rings true a lot for me as well. That like, yeah, they are a lot more willing to take on that burden. And maybe it's because of the community thing. I guess one other thing is that this might be a difference, but if you're, dating somebody, you kind of have to get to know them a little bit more first to even find out if they're going to be interested in you a lot of the time. So you tend to be friends at least, while you're trying to work things out before you even get into a relationship. So maybe that's why it just becomes easier to go back to that. I'm not sure. Like I'm sure there's probably like there's probably like a actual like study or like a good explanation for why that is. But I definitely do think that is something that rings true.
Well, it's a fascinating thing to note. I mean, I'm not going to do a study. I'm going to take your word and Egan's word for it,
and call it a day.
And call it a day. I got two Patreon subscribers telling me that's what it is.
There we go.
I don't need more than that. Well, my parents have a very hard line on this. They're very adamant. I had my ex on the show. Mm-hmm. As my ex, and they feel that it's you're messing with them, and that it's messing with their emotions, and that it's I'm playing with fire in their hearts, essentially. What?
Your parents are so extreme sometimes.
Hey, they're a little extreme, sure. I mean, I think there's truth to that. I don't think they're wrong. I think there's other benefits. I think the other benefits can kind of weigh out the sort of dangers of it.
It's like so situational that you can't apply like a hard and fast rule. Like, how long have you been broken up? What were the circumstances? Like, if you broke up 4 years ago, then all right, it's cool to want to be friends, I guess.
It was over 4 years ago, but if there's still a feeling of, she wants me back on some level, would that sell you? Because I think that's the root of their concern.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just mean like, and this is funny because I say this as a person who literally does not speak to a single one of my exes on purpose, but yeah, I guess to put out like some kind of blanket statement like that is kind of a bit much. I think it's super like case by case.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. Because I think like even as we're like discussing, I'm thinking about it. I'm friends with like some exes, some I've just never spoken to again, just because, we just didn't run in the same circles apart from when we were seeing each other. So I think it is kind of on a case by case basis, and I think it's kind of neat that you're able to do things with your ex. If things ended nicely and you guys are still comfortable, I feel like it's a really healthy thing to be able to still be in touch with your exes and not necessarily have to just, completely forget that they were a part of your life.
Yeah, that's where I land as well. I feel that, especially when you spent years with someone, it's a little, I guess I can't put my finger on it. I guess it's sort of, you invested in that person and you want to see how they grow and who they turn into. And, they were kind of a major character in your life. And it's like, you don't want to watch every episode of the new season, but you want to read a summary online,
You want to tune into the big mid-season finale, the finale.
Yeah, like maybe you're not going to be the person they come to tell you about their like dates or anything, but yeah, maybe there's like other ways to still be friends. I know, maybe sometimes they're in your wedding party though.
I know.
Can't believe that.
That's a lot. That's a lot for me. But I think it's cool. I mean, I'm kind of jealous of the lesbians on that. I mean, just the level of freedom. I mean, it takes a lot of openness from, you know, like her wife or her fiance, that she would be like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. I'm cool with your ex. That's cool. You don't see that with the straights.
Yeah, I actually was talking about this with a friend the other day, where we were saying like, even I think one of the reasons that might be the case where like, you know, her wife might not be so stressed out about it is like, in general, you don't have the expectations of like, you know, when it's a man and a woman, people always just read into it that they must be into each other. But if, you know, the people you're dating and your friends are all women, you kind of have to make peace with the fact that like, yeah, your partner loves you or, you know, wants to be romantically involved with you and not with all the other women they know.
Makes sense. I feel like our listener also kind of brought this up a few times. She alluded to women being more like emotionally evolved.
One of the reasons that like it's been, or one of the factors in, you know, whether or not you can stay friends with someone is your ability to communicate with each other. So like if you can really actually say, you know, this isn't going to work, we don't make sense dating, but I still like being your friend and really mean it, that makes it easier to maintain that friendship after.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'll gladly say, you know, if Eden thinks men are emotionally unevolved, then I'm an emotional caveman. I can live with that.
But you can be, I don't know, the end of that evolution poster.
Homo sapien, I guess.
Thank you. I'll be the one who steps forward. And why do they always get shorter? Nobody talks about that. We're also getting shorter. Nobody's concerned. I'm concerned. People.
That's okay. I'm already short, so
I was
everyone
gonna
else
say
can
that.
come down to my level.
Welcome. No more joking how the weather is down here. Haha.
I've never heard that. I always
my
hear
God, people are annoying.
how's the weather up there. I didn't know they did it down
I've
there.
heard both. Or like, how are you gonna like it when I use you as your head as an armrest?
Oh God.
These people are annoying. Let me tell you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon. We love to hear your insights, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the AITA call-in show. We're still in it, baby. It's still happening. It's a blast. I mean,
Never not happening.
It's never not happening because it's rolling, just like you do on ecstasy.
There we go.
Or Crantucket.
We're joined, or Crantucket. There we go. So you guys
my
might
God.
have heard this
Forgot about
reference.
that.
So Lauren and I, we were talking, we were catching up, dropping some juicy goss. By the way, feel free to reach out to me with the juicy goss, people. You know I live for it. Lauren, you telling me about Crantucket. What is this abomination?
I don't even know where to start, man. It is bad though. It's like a basic bitch beer that is, I don't know, on steroids maybe, mixed with some rosé.
Didn't you tell me
wait.
it's like a cranberry IPA?
No, well, it's worse than that. It's called a brute rosé IPA.
What?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Pickle Lane.
Exactly.
Also, what is a basic bitch on steroids? Like, what does that even look like? Drinking like a million pumpkin spice lattes and like spending 6 hours on the elliptical.
Like rosé all day, but with cranberries and I don't know.
Ugh. Although now I am tempted to try this, but it sounds truly terrible.
Well, I think the lucky thing is that it was a limited release, so I don't know that they even sell it anymore. Like, thank God, but
Phew.
yeah.
Well, Lauren, you are a treasured Patreon member, a longtime friend, and I think an unintentional evangelist of Crantucket, but you're also a doctor, isn't that right? Of what are you a doctor of? Science.
Physiology, biomedical science.
But you are a doctor. You're Dr. Lauren.
Yeah, some institution thought it was wise to give me a doctorate.
That's so cool. You're not pretentious about it ever. I'd like to call you Dr. Lauren from here on out. Is that okay? It'd be fun for me.
But honestly, that's great because like it's more of a surprise when people call me doctor because no one really calls me that at work because we're all like, we just assumed everyone has a PhD, so you don't call anyone by the doctor.
Everyone's a doctor, so it doesn't mean anything.
So
I get
humble.
it.
Yeah.
And now you specialize in a condition called preeclampsia. This is a condition that occurs during pregnancy. And what's the deal with preeclampsia?
Yeah, so it's high blood pressure and evidence of organ damage that happens towards the end of pregnancy. And it's super common, like 5% of all pregnancies have preeclampsia. And yeah, it's really dangerous because it can lead to seizures and issues with the baby and the mom, obviously. So there's also long-term consequences. So I'm kind of interested more in what happens to the mom after she survives preeclampsia. She's more likely to have atherosclerosis and heart disease. So
wow. Are you sick of everyone bringing up that Kim Kardashian suffered from that?
It's funny because I usually bring it up, but more importantly, Beyonce, our queen Beyonce, had preeclampsia with her twins. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, she called it toxemia, which is weird. It's like an old timey name for it, but she had preeclampsia with them. So if and she wants to give me money, that would be great because she's at high risk for.
And I don't mean to, I know this is a serious condition, but I guess I'm just a little confused. Do we want eclampsia and then we're getting it too early? What's the pre-aspect here?
Oh, no, you definitely do not want eclampsia. That's like the really severe like seizures and stuff. I think it came from like a Greek word for like lightning, and that's why it's called eclampsia.
Oh.
It's like pre-eclampsia is bad, but not as bad.
Oh, it's like you're gonna get eclampsia, so this is what happens before you get eclampsia.
Right.
Well, look at that. I'm a doctor now, too. So, Dr. Lauren, we got a juicy sitch for you today. This is a listener submission. AITA for yelling at employees after my daughter ran away. This happened about 25 years ago. Already upset. My eldest daughter is autistic and is now 26. So she was 1 when this happened. Okay. When she was 2, okay, I was wrong. She was
2. He's a doctor, but not in mathematics.
When she was 2, I was 8 months pregnant with her sister. My husband and I had a function we had to go to that I needed a new dress for. So I went to a department store to find a dress. My daughter had a very strong tendency to take off the second I would look away, part of her disability at the time. I put her in the shopping cart and strapped her in. I found a dress that might work, but I needed to try it on. I went to the fitting rooms and asked if I could use the disabled fitting room and take the shopping cart in with me so I could keep my daughter strapped in so she wouldn't escape. I showed the attendant that all I had was the one dress, my daughter and my purse. She said no, that I couldn't bring my daughter in, so I took her out of the cart and went into a fitting room and locked the door. My daughter waited until I was down to my bra and underwear and then crawled out under the door. I immediately cried out for someone, please stop her, stop her, as I was frantically putting my dress on. I ran out to find my child crying and screaming. Please help me find her. Please help me find her. Not one employee helped. Finally, another customer asked if I was looking for a small girl with brown hair and pigtails. I said, yes, yes, yes. She stated, oh, she's by the front door, is about to walk out. I caught her just before she walked out of the store in the middle of Indianapolis. Once I had safely strapped my daughter back into a shopping cart, I demanded to speak to the store manager, where I told him not one of his employees tried to help me and stop my child, not even the attendant who was standing outside the fitting rooms when my daughter escaped. She just let her go. At this time, he stated, we do not allow employees to touch children for fear of being sued. At this point, I began yelling and stated if my daughter had gotten out, and let's not even imagine what could have happened, do you think I would not have sued? It was at this point that I looked down and realized in my haste to get out of the fitting room and find my daughter, I had thrown my dress on inside out and it was unbuttoned down to my waist. At that point, I grabbed my dress, ripped it off over my head, put it back on correctly, and buttoned it up. I looked at the manager and yelled, do you have anything to say? He just shook his head no. I left and have never returned. Was I the asshole?
Oh boy. I would be like, at least give me the dress for free.
Take the dress off, for God's sake. I'm not paying for this thing.
I just gotta know, what's the statute of limitations on this thing?
Right.
There's no statute. We can call you an asshole until the day you're dead. That's what I
like
say.
that. It's like murder. Sorry, everything has to come back to murder.
So murder, there always is. There. You can always try murder, huh, Sarah?
Yes.
That's interesting.
There's no statute of limitations.
I don't know why I'm sad. Anyway. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, can we just talk here about this happened 25 years ago?
Yeah,
I feel like
crazy.
I need to Google 1981, or when the hell was that? That was in what year is it? That was in 1995.
Yeah, this daughter is like not that much younger than us. Although, Danny, let's not pretend like we wouldn't hold on to a grudge for 25 years, because I certainly could do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I still think of horrible things that I did and things that happened to me.
You know what I was thinking is, like, how would this scene play out in 2020? Like, oh, you would just get on your computer and you'd order like the dress and
Yeah.
You can only sue yourself if your kid walks out your own front door. I mean, I guess what's weird to me is that she gets the manager involved like at the very end where there's really nothing to be done, versus when I would have maybe gotten the manager involved in the beginning if it's so important that you take your daughter strapped into a shopping cart into the fitting room. Like, that seems like an easier ask where the manager would bend the rules.
Yeah, I mean, it's common sense, you know? It's like, what? No one's being harmed by this. You know,
Right.
Your daughter has a condition. You just need to say she had a condition, and you go, hey, you know, what? No big deal. So the attendant is probably told to say no, and, you know, they didn't realize it was an extenuating circumstance.
Right. But I think if you push back a little bit, this is like a fitting room attendant. They don't get paid a lot. They don't give a fuck what you do. I feel like they would have eventually just been like, all right.
Or like, why wouldn't you tell them, like, oh, my kid might run away, so close the door, or like block the door?
That's also true.
Even in 1995, where
math.
things were a little bit less insane, I still feel like, you know, the whole like don't touch kids and like don't interact with kids. Like I get the touchiness from the manager being like, well, look, man, we're not going to advocate people to chase your child. That's the
yeah, what
store
are they supposed to
policy.
do? Like manhandle a kid? Because for every like one child that they could have stopped by like grabbing them, you'd have at least one other angry mom being like, how dare you touch my child? It's a lose-lose.
I mean, it's an interesting question what the state of Karens were in 1995, because they were out there.
But
They
maybe,
were unknown, though.
I don't know if you think they were still named Karen or they had a different name.
We might have to run some tests on the actual names of them, but like, just imagine running around the world though and not being able to identify them and just kind of feeling their negative energy, but being like, what is that made of? What is happening right now? And we didn't know. It was a dark time. And just for a little bit of context, guys, the number one song in 1995 was Gangsta's Paradise, which I don't think would play at a department store. I submit to you the song playing during this incident was definitely Waterfalls by TLC. Please.
Oh, yeah. Because you don't go chasing them.
Exactly. Oh, my God. That's it. That's why they were subconsciously influenced. Okay, so she brings the kid in against really what would have been the ideal situation. The kid escapes. Okay, so then it's like, well, were they looking the other way? The dressing room attendant, like, did they just see the kid run out? Did the kid book it? I really can't come for them.
I mean, yeah, what are you supposed to do? Just start like snatching up errant children?
That seems like madness.
It does. Because also, like, how many times have you, run around in a department store and gotten lost and, like, hid in the racks of clothing? I feel like that's got to happen often.
Some of the best times in my life.
Oh, yeah. The coat rack, a great time.
Great time.
Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
And, I don't think this is an asshole policy that, it's kind of like watch your own kids, don't mess with kids. That seems like a common sense department store policy. So I'm not mad at the department store.
Yeah, I'm not mad at them either because it's like, yeah, they could have stepped in, but I feel like it's like once you start doing that, I think you're just opening yourself up to like a whole lot of liability. So I get why they wouldn't.
Well, what if she
and then it's
warned them or something? You know, like what if she'd asked them to watch out and then they didn't? Does that change things?
I think that would change it for me.
Yeah, if she had asked the attendant, hey, just, keep an eye out and feel free to grab my daughter if she runs. Well, see, that would be weird too, though. Like, what would she say? Keep an eye out.
Yeah, but then I would be like, I'm not comfortable doing that. But then you'd at least have, you'd have the expectations laid out up front. But that is a weird conversation to have with a fitting room attendant.
Then you just don't go in the fitting room and you buy it and return it or whatever.
I mean, that's what my mom would have done. She would have bought it. She would have tried it on at home. She probably would have returned it with a million coupons anyway to get it for less.
I mean, it couldn't have been that fancy of a place if they had a shopping cart in the department store.
Oh, that's a valid point.
Disgusting.
I don't think I've ever rolled a shopping cart through Lord and Taylor or whatever.
I don't roll shopping carts. That is revolting.
What, you push it?
No, I don't shop anywhere with a shopping cart.
Danny doesn't eat groceries.
That's disgusting. No, I never thought of that. Yeah, I guess you're right. Really nice places. Yeah, you wouldn't go to Nordstrom and they hand you a little milk crate with handles. That's a fair point. I get it now.
They wouldn't be like, all right, as much as you can pack in here.
Yeah, we charge you by the basket. Emma N says, if she had got out, why could you sue them? She's your kid and you're supposed to be watching her. As a parent, I feel for you, but our kids are our responsibility. Unless you're paying someone to watch them, it simply isn't their job to do it. YTA.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel.
I will disagree. And I am ready to say that, who was the victim here? Okay, so mom made a boo-boo, kid got free, nothing bad happened. It was a moment of panic. Who was panicking? Mom. Daughter had fun. I mean, daughter was on the adventure of a lifetime. I mean, Indianapolis was outside. She's too young to know Indianapolis sucks. So mom freaked out. Mom has all these emotions. She then aims the gun at these employees, but all she really said was, I guess she yelled at the employees, but she was in an elevated state. Is that enough to make her an asshole?
I mean, that is probably the most emotional state,
Losing your kid? Women hate when they lose their kids. Men too.
I was like, yeah, only the women. The men are like, thank God. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the most heightened emotional state you can have. It's like, I'm sure pure panic and adrenaline when you think your kid's missing. Yeah, however, that said, the fact that this person is still thinking about this 25 years later shows that they think that they're still right 25 years later.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think OP is that bad. I think OP, was in, feeling some kind of way, and they channeled that at the only people they could. I
mean, yeah, I don't think OP is like a monster, and I don't think that this is a very big transgression. I think I can understand someone's reasons for doing something, but still be like, you're not really right in this situation.
You know what? I would like to buttress my defense even further and bring to the jury, OP is 8 months pregnant.
OP.
Can we give her some leeway? She's 8 months pregnant.
I mean, leeway to what end?
I'm ready to push us into no assholes here territory. What she did was inappropriate, sure. But does it make her an asshole? She was 8 months preggo, she yelled, sure, but something horrible happened.
Yeah, I could be straight to that too. That's tough.
Come on. I don't like playing this game of there's so many extenuating circumstances. I think we can go I would go a gentle YTA, but that's it. To be you were wrong. I understand why, but
But Sarah, 8 months we're not talking about 6 months pregnant. We're not talking about 3 months pregnant. We're talking about the baby is listening to this shit go down in there.
Wait, did she say what she was buying a dress for?
a function
It's like
with her husband.
Lands End and that kind of shit back then. So
What'd you say?
so they did have like Lands End, right? So like you could mail order something, and I was like, set yourself up for success. Like, don't bring your 2-year-old daughter when you're 8 months pregnant to the department store, and like maybe don't go in the changing room if you can't like have her buckled in the seat. You know, just kind of, not that she's a huge asshole for everything that transpired, but like you could set yourself up for better success, I think.
Yeah, I don't think she's a huge
but
asshole. I would go gentle.
I mean, but guys, it was a different world in 1995. There was like pretty much no internet. I mean, it was a whole thing. Kim R, I think, backing me up here, NTA. While it isn't their job to stop the child, it is an a-hole move on their part not to do something. Specifically questioning a small child leaving alone. Isn't that crazy? They were about to let a small child leave.
Yes.
I guess I'm like trying to imagine this scene play out, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like, the daughter darts out of the fitting room, but then is like walking so comically slowly at the exit that the mom has time to like run across the store and like find her. This, like, I don't know. This scene is weird.
It's a weird scene, Sarah. Look, there's a lot of different views here. Nikki C, ESH. Why would you think your child is someone else's responsibility? I've worked in retail. If a mother was frantically looking for her kid, of course I'd help. It's a pretty shitty thing to at least not alert someone that a kid climbed under a door and took off. No alert, guys? No alert?
I mean, I can go with that. Because I feel like anytime me or my siblings have disappeared in a store, you know, they tell someone, they get the security person, they make an announcement if necessary. To have everyone standing around just twiddling their thumbs is definitely weird.
It's shocking. It's shocking, Sarah. I think this is not as clear cut as certain individuals have made it seem to be. Bridget D, technically your daughter's special needs and your pregnancy both qualified you to use that room, which you said, which I agree with. She should have gotten to use the big dressing room. Come on.
Yeah,
and that's
I agree.
what she should have asked for the manager. And Bridget D writes, most retail shops have a protocol for lost kids that includes watching the exits and making a coded announcement. You know what we're talking about, people. One of those, we got a code 419423. It's always like so long for no reason. You're like, why is this? What's going on?
This to me seems like it happened so fast that they didn't even have time to do that. Like, this woman is like rushing to put on her dress or whatever item of clothing and then running around the store. I'm just kind of like, what if like they just hadn't, like nobody was notified yet?
That's true. And it just happened. So they didn't even know that she was lost. What, they're going to buzz just as soon as they see a kid wandering? That would be a little bit reactive.
A little bit.
I've tried my best to defend OP. I mean, Tammy S is just thinking, not even offering a verdict. They just wrote, I think that after 25 years, holding on to this anger isn't good. Let it go.
Tammy.
I mean, yeah.
I don't see a lot of, well, yeah, there is some anger here.
It's like, why are you thinking about this specific thing? Did your daughter never try to run away again?
I've got to give some OP like some credit, I do feel, because if this is the one incident that keeps you up at night where you're like, I was such an asshole, a quarter of a century later, I have to still ask about it. I'm like, you know what? Give yourself some credit. You were so emotional. You were 8 months pregnant. You thought you lost your kid. Like, OP is probably a great person.
Now, is OP the asshole because they missed an opportunity to say 105 years ago?
Yes. You should always count in scores when you can.
When you can. I mean, Lauren, do you got any defense for us? I think I am kind of shifting here. I mean, I tried, but ultimately it's like, look, she could have ordered from a catalog. The employees, honestly, I'm not even ready to call them negligent. And yeah, she was preggo, but it was also like her lack of discretion that got her into this sitch. I am trapped in a YTA zone.
Oh, now you are.
Actually, I don't know. The ESH sort of got me.
No, but Sarah, you refuted the ESH because, yes, they have a protocol for monitoring the exits. She hadn't even left the store. What, they're supposed to fucking hit the button as soon as the kid steps near the exit? I mean, there was no time.
Yeah, I mean, I would go like a gentle YTA, but not like, I think this person is an asshole of a person. But we've also established that that's not what that means anymore.
ESH.
But ESH on the grounds that the employee fucked up? Is it the manager? Is it the system you're mad at?
Yeah, just
fuck the system.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't they let her in with the shopping cart, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, that seems pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's dumb, but I don't know if it's asshole-ish. I feel like, you know, I can do a soft YTA with the 8-month prego, but it is a YTA nonetheless for me. I tried.
You did try. And we must commend you for that.
As a scientist, we never say things in absolute. So it's like, you may be the asshole.
Interesting.
Evidence.
So you're wow, this is a new verdict. So this is may be the asshole, an MTA. That's fun.
Also the name of your subway, right, in New York?
Yes.
There we go.
I forgot about the old MTA. I haven't ridden a train and, well, it's been 25 years since I've been on a subway train.
It really has felt like that.
Well, then I guess we kind of agree. I feel like Lauren wants to go ESH. She's on the fence. But Sarah and I do agree that this is a YTA. Lauren bringing us the MTA, the scientifically responsible verdict. Well, Lauren, it's been so great to have you. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, also the situation is why they made child leashes.
True.
And I know they existed back then too, because I'm pretty sure my parents had one for my sister.
Oh, I know 100% my parents had all three of us on a leash, so I can't even hate.
We need some not fanfic, fan art, I guess, of someone.
Oh my god!
Podcast of drawing you and your triplets on the leash.
Please, oh my god!
Oh my god! I forgot Sarah has triplets. I always forget.
You make it sound like I personally gave birth to triplets, which I did not do.
Well, that's all you can do. Isn't that true that triplets beget triplets?
You're the doctor here.
Speaking of, this is an actual science fact, okay? This is actually true. Armadillos, Sarah, stay with me. Armadillos almost exclusively birth identical quadruplets.
Why do you know that?
Because I am an armadillo breeder.
Wow. I thought I knew you.
I know. Yeah, a lot of people think they know me. But no, I Google fun facts sometimes. I love a fun fact. What? Does that make me a boring person? I like a fun fact.
I do love a fun fact. I mean, this was a fun one. So thank you for that.
It was fine.
Oh, well, you're a doctor, so you know a lot of facts, so your standards are very high.
That's true.
This has been one heck of an ep. Thanks for joining us on the Call-In Show. It's been a real pleasure, and anybody can be on the Call-In Show. You just have to join our Patreon. Lauren is an executive producer, so she gets to call the shots.
Woo.
So you got to pay extra for that, but you can just pay $5 if you want to do the Call-In Show. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next Monday morning.
Bye.